What is that sound? The desert wasteland is speaking. Resist, defy the rules. The sun blazed relentlessly over the desert wasteland of Arak'tul, a planet torn apart by centuries of resource wars and ruled by harsh, uncompromising clans. In the heart of this barren landscape, power was everything, and those who held it enforced society's cruel rules with an iron fist. Slavery was one such rule, a sign of dominance in a world where strength alone dictated the right to rule. Darek Quinn was a well-known enforcer, a hardened mercenary who worked for the Kalash Clan, one of the most powerful factions on Arak'tul. He'd been in their service for years, though he was careful never to grow too close to their oppressive ways. Today, his reputation as a loyal soldier earned him a so-called reward, a prize that, to him, was anything but. Commander Quinn, to overseer Thal, a brutal Kalash leader, sneered as he shoved a young woman forward, her hands bound with rope. "We offer you a gift. She is yours to do with as you please." The woman stumbled, catching herself before looking up with a defiant glare. Her face, framed by sand-streaked hair, was marked with faint bruises and exhaustion, but her spirit was unbroken. Darek's gaze met hers, and he felt a twinge of discomfort, something he rarely experienced. Her eyes were fierce, determined, a spark of life that was rare in the wasteland. "What's your name?" he asked quietly. "Lena," she replied, lifting her chin. "And if you think I'll serve you willingly, you're wrong." Thal laughed, his amusement grating in the oppressive silence. "Oh, she'll learn to submit. Commander, they all do eventually. Break her spirit, and she'll make a fine servant." Darek clenched his jaw, every fiber of his being rebelling against the twisted expectations of this brutal society. He had witnessed the cruelty of the clans many times, but now, standing in front of Lena, he couldn't bring himself to enforce their rules. Instead, he felt something he hadn't in a long time, a responsibility to do something different. "Enough."
"Thal,"
Darek said, his voice calm but laced with finality. He took hold of Lena's arm gently, his touch more protective than controlling. "I'll take her with me." Thal's brow furrowed. Suspicious, but he let it pass, laughing as he walked away. "Enjoy your gift." "Commander," he called over his shoulder. As soon as they were out of earshot, Darek removed the ropes binding Lena's wrists. She looked at him, confused but guarded, rubbing the red marks on her skin. "Why did you do that?" she asked, her tone defiant. Darek glanced around, ensuring they were alone. Before responding, "I don't believe in this society's rules. You're no one's slave. Lena, not mine, not theirs. You're free to go. But if you're willing to stay, I think we could help each other." Lena raised an eyebrow, suspicion flashing across her face. "Help each other? How?" "There are things I know about the Kalash, things they'd kill to keep secret," Darek replied. "I've wanted to bring them down for years, and judging by the fire in your eyes, I'd say you have reasons of your own to want freedom from their rule." Lena's expression softened as she considered his words. She'd been taken from her family, her freedom stripped away, but her spirit had remained unbroken. The possibility of joining forces with Darek, a man who had just defied the very society that had enslaved her, was unexpected, but intriguing. "All right," she said cautiously. "What's your plan?" Darek smiled, a spark of determination igniting in his eyes. "First, we need to gather allies, people who want to see the clans lose their grip on the wasteland. We'll work in secret, quietly building our strength. And when the time is right, we'll break more than just a few rules. We'll break the very foundation of their power." In that moment, an alliance was forged. Lena, a woman enslaved by an unforgiving society, had found a reluctant ally in Darek, a man with his own grudges against the world that had made him. Together, they would set in motion a plan to bring down the oppressive rule of the Kalash Clan, one step at a time. And as they turned their backs on the harsh desert sun, both knew that they had just taken the first, irrevocable step toward a rebellion that would shake the wasteland to its core. The days in the desert were brutal, but Darek and Lena moved swiftly, seeking out hidden settlements scattered across Arak'tul's wastelands. Each settlement held people who lived in the shadows of the clans, eking out a living while avoiding the reach of the Kalash and other powerful factions. Darek knew these places well. Over the years, he had watched them struggle under the clan's control. Now, for the first time, he offered them a glimmer of hope. In each settlement, he spread word of the plan he and Lena were piecing together. Though Darek's reputation as a mercenary preceded him, Lena's presence gave him credibility he hadn't expected. People listened when she spoke. Her story of capture and resistance resonated with them. Her defiance against the clan rule became a rallying cry for those who had been oppressed. Slowly, people began to rally behind them, reluctant at first, but driven by desperation. Farmers, traders, and workers with little more than old tools and makeshift weapons joined the cause. They gathered what supplies they could, hiding them in secret caches outside the settlements, knowing they couldn't risk alerting the clans to the rebellion forming in their midst. One evening, as they camped under the vast, star-speckled sky, Lena sat beside Darek, studying the small group they'd gathered. "They're brave," she murmured, watching as the recruits whispered excitedly about the chance to fight back. "But will they stand a chance against Kalash's warriors? Against men like you?" Darek's face darkened. "They'll have to. We can't hope to match the clan's strength head-on, but we don't need to. We'll move in the shadows, hitting them where it hurts most, their supply routes, their weapons caches. We'll make their rule unstable, give people hope that they can resist." Lena nodded, a fierce determination lighting her eyes. "Good, because I want to see their grip on this wasteland shattered." The following day, Darek led their first raid, targeting a Kalash convoy transporting weapons through a remote canyon. They lay in wait, hidden in the rocks, until the convoy rumbled into the narrow pass. At his signal, the recruits launched an ambush, raining down makeshift explosives and trapping the convoy in a whirlwind of chaos. As the dust settled, Darek and Lena's small band had captured a bounty of weapons and supplies, a victory that would give them a crucial advantage in the battles to come. But more than that, the victory spread like wildfire across the desert settlements, a message that the clans were not invincible, that ordinary people could stand against them. That night, as their followers celebrated quietly around the campfire, Lena turned to Darek. Today was just the beginning. "They'll come for us now. You know, we're a threat to them." Darek nodded, his eyes fixed on the flames. "Let them come. We're not stopping until we've freed this wasteland from their rule." In the glow of the fire, their alliance felt stronger than ever. They had drawn first blood, and the desert itself seemed to hold its breath, waiting for the storm that was yet to come. The rebellion's first strike against the Kalash had sparked hope across the wasteland, and in the days that followed, more people joined Darek and Lena's growing band of rebels. From scavengers and farmers to escaped slaves and disgruntled mercenaries, they gathered in secret camps across the desert, united by their determination to overthrow the clan's oppressive rule. But the Kalash didn't waste time in responding. Scouts and enforcers scoured the wasteland, tightening security and launching brutal crackdowns on settlements suspected of aiding the rebellion. Darek knew they couldn't keep hiding forever. The Kalash would eventually close in on them. He and Lena decided it was time to strike a decisive blow to show the people that the clans weren't untouchable. The target was Skara Bastion, a heavily guarded Kalash fortress nestled within the cliffs of the desert's northern range. Skara was not only a symbol of the clan's power, but also the main stockpile for their weapons and supplies. Taking the fortress would cripple Kalash operations across the wasteland and signal to everyone watching that the rebellion was real. On the eve of the attack, Darek and Lena gathered their forces in the shadow of the cliffs. With the stolen weapons from the convoy raid, they were better armed than ever, but the risk was high. Darek surveyed their makeshift army, seeing the mixture of nervousness and determination in their eyes. "Tonight, we take back our future," he said, his voice carrying over the assembled fighters. "The clans have ruled this wasteland through fear, but that ends here. Skara has stood for too long as a symbol of their power. Tomorrow, it will be our symbol, a symbol of freedom." Lena stepped forward, her fierce gaze meeting those of their allies. "We're fighting for more than ourselves. We're fighting for everyone who suffered under their rule, everyone who has been silenced. Tonight, we break the chains that have bound this desert for too long." As night fell, Darek led a group of scouts to the fortress's outer defenses, silently dispatching the guards and signaling for the main force to advance. They moved swiftly, navigating through the rocky terrain until they reached Skara's main gates. With a thunderous boom, Darek's team detonated charges on the outer wall, shattering the fortress's entrance and sending Kalash guards scrambling. The rebels poured into the fortress, engaging Kalash soldiers in intense close-quarters combat. Darek fought alongside his people, his blaster cutting through the chaos as he pushed deeper into the fortress. Meanwhile, Lena and a team of engineers worked to locate and disable the fortress's power systems, plunging Skara into darkness. The Kalash fought fiercely, but they were unprepared for the ferocity and unity of the rebels. Room by room, the fortress fell as Darek and Lena's forces took control. In the main hall, Darek confronted Overseer Thal himself, the man who had gifted Lena to him as a slave only weeks before. Thal's arrogant sneer was gone, replaced by desperation as he faced the mercenary he had once considered an ally. "Quinn, you traitor!" Thal spat, clutching his weapon. "You think you can tear down the Kalash? We'll hunt you to the ends of the galaxy." Darek stepped forward, his expression cold and unwavering. "The Kalash are finished. Thal! The people of this wasteland are done bowing to you." With a final, defiant look, Thal raised his weapon, but Darek fired first, ending the Overseer's reign of terror. As Thal collapsed, the echoes of the battle outside began to fade. The fortress had fallen. When dawn broke over the desert, the rebels stood victorious within the walls of Skara Bastion. Cheers erupted as word spread through the wasteland. The Kalash had been dealt a crippling blow. Darek and Lena stood on the ramparts, looking out over the sea of rebels who now called the fortress their own. The fall of Skara marked the beginning of a new chapter for Arak'tul. People from settlements across the desert came to pledge their loyalty to the rebellion, and even those who had once been loyal to the clans began to question their allegiances. The clans had lost their grip on the wasteland, their power fractured by the very people they had once oppressed. As Lena looked out over the fortress, now a beacon of hope, she turned to Darek. "This is what we fought for, a world where people can live free." Darek nodded, a rare smile crossing his face. "We've started something that can't be stopped. The wasteland belongs to its people now, and together they had forged a revolution that would reshape the desert forever." Skara Bastion, once a symbol of oppression, had become the heart of a movement, and a reminder that even in the harshest of places, hope could rise from the dust.